Hey everyone, welcome back to Key Lessons. I'm going to show you my Android 18 deck profile. This is a deck that I find a lot of fun. It's very strong and it kind of has, it's a very good balance of it's got good aggro and it has a lot of answers in it. So it's been one of my main decks for a while now. And I recently upgraded it a little bit. I got some more of the good promos that I previously didn't have. So I've made the deck stronger, so I'm going to share what my list is now, but I will also share the previous list if you're looking for a budget version. The leader, if you don't know what she does, she can awaken if you have 3 cards under her. So to put cards under her, when you attack, she will draw a card and then place a blue card from your drop under this card. Once you get up to 3, you can awaken. And then when you have awakened, she'll still do that thing where she puts cards underneath the leader. And then once per turn, when you add a card from your life to your hand, you can place another blue card from your trash under this card. And she also has an activate battle, which can come in handy in a pinch if you want to say awaken or any other reason. So once per turn, you may add 1 card from your life to your hand, and this card gains 5,000 power for the battle. Let's focus on the cards we want to start with. We mulligan for these cards. So 4 copies of Android 18, gearing up the battle. So she just costs 1 and she does a top 5 search looking for either a Krillin or an Android with an energy cost of 5 or less. And she has the activate main, which is limit 1, burst 1. If your leader's blue, Android 18, place this card under your leader. And you want to do this ability, you want this card on the first turn because it helps you awaken. So you put this under your leader, and you do that burst 1, so when you attack with your leader, you have another card that you drop to put underneath the leader. So 4 copies of 18 and 3 copies of Krillin, who is basically the same except he just draws a card instead of doing top 5 search. So the top 5 search is obviously better, but drawing a card is fine as well. So all in all, there's 7 cards for this ability. You want 1 of them in your starting hand. The next priority, if you've managed to find one of those when you do your mulligan, you want this set up for turn 2. So this is Krillin and Android 18. It costs 2 energy to play if you have 2 cards under your leader, so you can play it. And when it's played, it will play you in unison with 1 marker and in rest mode. So we'll look at the unison in a minute, but then it's dual attack with 15k power. This card, we want to see this card pretty early as well, but it's not as important to see it straight away. 4 copies of her, it is Android 18. So it has double strikes, 20,000 power. When it's removed from a battle area, you remove it from the game, so that prevents you from cycling it over and over again. So you play her for 1 energy if you have 3 energy and you have a Krillin in your combo area. So there's lots of Krillins in this deck for that reason. You can also, if you want, pay an additional energy to get a Krillin from your drop or your Z energy or even your combo area. Specifically a Krillin that costs 3. So if we've managed to get all of that in our mulligan hand, then there's 1 more card that we wouldn't mind keeping, and that is this Android 18. So it is a multicolored card, but it ignores an energy exhaust because your leader is a blue Android. You can also use her to do a top 5 search, but the main reason you want her is to put a certain Krillin card online. I'll show you that in a moment, but basically if we can get this into the energy at some point during the game, it's going to help us a lot later on. Only 2 copies. I wouldn't mind a 3rd, but can't find room for it, and I don't think I own a 3rd, not one that I can find. So the unison is pretty important, but it is only at 3 copies because you're playing it with your Krillin and Android 18. It has blocker if your leader is Krillin or Android 18. And then the +2 lets you draw a card and then trash a card and then put a card from your drop underneath your leader. So that's pretty important for what this leader does. And then if you get a chance to use the -4, that's pretty good as well. You get to choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards, ignoring barrier, and place it at the bottom of their deck, so it doesn't matter what cost it is. And the other thing about the +2 is at the end of your turn, it will re-stand, so you can attack with it, and then it will be standing up to act as a blocker for your opponent's next turn. So now the 3-cost Krillin, which is you're able to play off the 5-cost Android 18, and if that Android 18 is out when this is on the board, it gains dual attack. So he's got 15k, and otherwise you can just play him for 1 energy if you have 3 or 1 energy. And then when it is played, it also chooses one of your opponent's battle cards with an energy cost of 4 or less and puts it at the bottom of their deck. I don't always play this Krillin card, but if I need that a little bit of extra dual attack, it's an option. Especially because you can play it from your drop. So the super combo is of course Krillin, because you want lots of Krillins in the deck, you know? A Krillin super combo is perfect for that. And then we have a Pseudo super combo of sorts. So this is Heavy Kick Krillin, and this is why you want the multicolor energy, because if you have a multicolor energy, this gains an extra 5k power, combo power, so it makes it a 10k combo for 0 energy. For a counterplay, I got 3 copies of the Android 18 Let Battle Begin, so this will cost 1 to use if you have a Unison out, and it bottom decks a 4 cost or less before it's played. Really good negate because you can use it for essentially free. So this is Android 17, and instead of paying its cost, you can just take 2 cards from underneath your leader and place them in the drop. But the important thing is to not do this at the wrong time. If you do this before you're awakened, you're going to make it a lot harder for yourself to awaken. And if you do it when you only have cards under your leader that you actually want to be under your leader, like the Android 18, which plays from under her, that might be an issue, but you can get it back in very easily. But it is only limit 1, so you only get to use 1 of these per turn, so you got to plan ahead, choose to use this negate when you can, so you can get that 15k body out, and then you don't want to be in a situation where you need to negate multiple attacks per turn, but the only negates in the hand are these, so you can only use 1 of them. And then there is 3 more Android 17 negates. This is the good floodgate one, so it costs 1, plays in rest, and the opponent has to bottom deck something every time they want to attack. The problem with it though is it can only be played if you either have 3 Z energy, a Z battle card, or a Z awakened leader. So it's a little bit hard to get online in this deck because this deck doesn't combo very much. So these will, you don't need to set 4, that's for sure. You could even have it at 2. But it's good when you get to the end game and you do have that the requirements met, and then you can play it. Fantastic. And then 4 copies of Gamma 1. So let's ignore the play from energy ability because I don't want to do that, because this is not the Gamma leader that you can do that in. But you play, it's just a 1 cost 1. You draw a card, and then if both of your leader and your opponent's leader have awakened, you can activate main and make him 20,000 critical. That's pretty good for 1 energy. And he is searchable from your Android 18 because he is an Android. But what isn't searchable is Goku and Oob. However, they can do some searching themselves. So if you're a 3 or more energy, you can play this for 1. It has dual attack. When it's played, you get to choose one of your opponent's battle cards with potential cost of 5 or less and return it to their hand. And then you get to look at the top 5 cards of your hand and look for either a Earthling or a Lord Krillin. So that's only going to find Krillins, but there are a lot of Krillins in the deck, so it's not that much of an issue. A little bit of a break in case of emergency card, you could say, is Gohan Power Reclaimed. I've had moments where I want to use his ability when you charge him into your Z energy, and I've also had moments where I want to play him because he's got that triple attack. He's a very versatile card, very good blue, like if you're playing a blue deck, if you've got a couple copies, might as well chuck him in. And then for some negates, I have All Too Easy, and the reason I chose this negate, because I was previously running Dimension Magic, wasn't very necessary. I never really needed the energy up. You use Dimension Magic, it gives you energy, and I never needed any more energy, so it wasn't really the right negate for the deck. But this card is kind of cool because it's just a normal negate, negates the attack, but then you can also use it from your drop by removing this and a card from your hand from the game. And that is kind of useful in this deck because this deck kind of needs to trash things from hands a lot. So if you use a Unison, you draw a card and then you trash a card. And there might not be a card in your hand that you want to throw away. So you can throw this away and then still use it. So that's alright. Obviously, when you do use it, you're throwing something away from hand anyway, so it kind of balances out. But if you're in that moment where you have nothing that you want to take from your hand, you can at least take that with the knowledge you can use it later. And it basically, instead of being 3 negates, it's 6. You know, you can use them all twice. And then for the secret rare, Hachiak. No better option for this deck, because this comes in clutch so many times. You get those moments where you just need this big old floodgate, and even though there's already enough floodgates in this deck, this is the ultimate one, so you can't go wrong with that. Now moving on to the Z deck, we have the Z Awaken Leader, which is in 18. You can play that for 1 if you have 3 or less energy. And then it has just a regular auto for attacking. Draw a card and put a card underneath her. And she has 20,000 power, but then she has the activate main for 3 energy to play either Krillin or an Android 18 from under her Z battle cards. So when you do Z Awaken, you'll Z stack 2, so you Z stack these 2 cards. Android 17 and Android 18. They both cost 5 energy, so you're kind of mostly really only going to play them off your leader ability, because that's 2 less energy. And then when they come out, they will restand her, so you attack with her, play these, your leader restands and gains double strike. So these restand her, but this playing these gives her double strike. And so 17 is critical with double strike, and Krillin is dual attack and also has a blocker. When Krillin's played, it will bottom deck one of your opponent's cards, and it will switch your leader active and put one of your mono blue energy back to active and against barrier. And at the end of the turn, you can place 1 blue Android 18 card from your drop under your leader card. Android 17 will also switch a mono blue energy back to active, switch your leader back to active and give it 10,000 power. And then at the end of your turn, you can place 1 blue Android card from your drop under your leader. Depends on circumstance which one you'll choose. Android 17 is the better one, but if your opponent only has 1 life, then Krillin's the better one, so it's whichever is the right circumstance at the time. Android 21 is kind of, is a very rare occurrence that I use her, but when I do use her, she's pretty useful. So it's a good way of getting rid of one of your opponent's cards, because you can use their cards for the Z stat requirement. And then the other card you can take from your own Z deck, which will be possibly Vegito, because Android 21 lets you use an ability, a keyword from one of the cards that it's Z stacked on top of. So you can gain this triple strike from Vegito at a much lower cost than the 5 energy that Vegito costs. Not that much of a lower cost, it's 1 cost less, but still, you play it on turn 4 and that's fine. Cell is Cell. I don't think we need to say much more than that. We all know what Cell does. If we don't know what Cell does, I'll just put the card up, you can read it, it's a pretty cool card. And then Beerus is one of the newer additions to my list, and it immediately became useful because the other night I was playing against Garlic Jr. They had the Shenron Secret Rare, and this card can get rid of it. So when it attacks, choose one of your opponent's battle cards with an energy cost greater than their current energy and put it at the bottom of their deck. So that's pretty useful just for 2 energy. So there you have it, that is my Android 18 list, and I will also show you now the previous version that was way more budget if you are looking for a cheap version of this deck. And the cheap version is just as good, really. I recently gained my 3rd copy of the Android 17 1 drop and the Goku and Oobs. So they're cool to have, but they're not necessary. Like I said, Android 17 you can probably just run a 2 anyway. And if you don't have any, then that's alright. Just put some other negates in. For side decks, I haven't built a side deck, but I will definitely be putting in some Mofuba to deal with Green Gohan. That card is unfair. And maybe a 4th copy of the Android 18 counterplay, and I'm not sure what else. I rarely side deck, I can't be bothered, it's just locals. But if I'm playing this in a big event, then I'd put more thought to it, but definitely the Mofubas. And yeah, there you have it. That is the list. Stay tuned to the channel. I'm going to make more of a point of putting out some Dragon Ball content. I know I've been pretty lax on that lately, pretty much since One Piece came out. Sorry about that, but I'm going to step it up. So I'll see you next time.